Hey everybody, if you've watched the channel over the last couple of weeks, you guys know that I went out to California for a couple of days. The main intent of the trip was to go out to Midsummer Scream, which was one of the largest haunt conventions in the world. But while I was out there, ended up hitting Disneyland for an extended amount of few hours, probably like 7 or 8 hours altogether. And then we did the VIP experience at Universal, which was awesome, but I didn't include the footage leading up to the trip, or the trip itself, kind of the plane and getting there and some miscellaneous stuff. So that's kind of what this video is going to be about. I didn't have a regular video to upload today, so I'm just kind of including the pieces of the journey. And when we get back from these clips, I'll give you a little bit of feedback. We had a couple of comments to the videos that we uploaded about what the differences were between Disneyland or the Universal stuff and what we thought of the trip out there. So here's a few clips and we'll be back. It's 4:30 in the morning. I got up a half an hour ago. We're heading to Orlando International Airport. Going on a little trip for the next 5 days. So I'm heading to California. The main purpose of this trip was to go to a haunt convention called Midsummer Scream. Midsummer Scream is like one of the nation's largest haunt type conventions. So like all the houses and companies like Universal, Warner Brothers, and then a lot of mom and pop places are going to be out there kind of demonstrating and selling their products to people so that you get them to buy in and come back to visit their haunts later in the year. This was something that Paul from Ideology and Madness I Own Geek and I had talked about going to for quite some time earlier this year, and we looked and we said we could use our miles that we've accumulated to be able to get out there. But I have to tell you that at least 4:30 or so in the morning, heading to the airport, I feel incredibly guilty because Mary and Jess are not here. And typically when we make these bigger trips, we have them with us, or at least I'm traveling for work. This is the first time, I think, in adult married life that I'm traveling for something that's not day job work without them in a significant capacity at least. So it feels a little weird, and I'm a little frazzled or nervous, I guess, for actually flying. I'm never nervous about flying. I love the actual airplane part and flying and everything. I just feel really bad about them not coming. One, Mary doesn't get enough vacation time from her job to come, and two, it wasn't just going to be Drake Jess alone, because the trip initially was just going to be the Midsummer Scream, but now we've ended up tacking on some days out there so that we can get some park action in for ourselves, and to show you guys as well some of the newer stuff that we haven't done, like the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff at Disneyland, and do the tour and stuff over at Universal Hollywood. So that's what we're up to. There might be a little bit other fun stuff thrown in there too. And so the one thing that's funny, as I'm leaving to go to one of the biggest haunt conventions, I've got this really ridiculous full moon shrouded by clouds. If that's not a sign that this is gonna be a perfect haunt weekend, I don't know what is. Bad editing, but quick jump ahead. We're getting on the plane.
Be playing this song the entire duration of the flight. It's on repeat.
we made it through our first leg of the flight. We actually landed in San Antonio, Texas. And we've got about another 2 hours or so to get to LA. So bring it on. Alright, landed at LAX. First thing you see is California Pizza Kitchen. Shouldn't that just be Pizza Kitchen here? Spelled Earth wrong. So we just finished getting our car finally at Avis by LAX. If you were ever coming to California, Los Angeles area, do not come here. This was horrible. Almost 2 hours of a wait. And then they double rented the car that we were supposed to have, so we had to wait again for them to get us another car. Absolutely horrible. Well, the day can only get better now. Clear Keep. Clear Keep. I know it's backwards. You don't have to put a comment. Just a miscellaneous video here. This is the Long Beach Eye. Eye. And the famous Laugh Factory. Right across the street from the pier. P.F. Chang's Queen Mary is down out that way. And look at this. Long jump cuts here, but it is time to go home. LAX, waiting for my plane to board. There's a long line of planes here between Alaska, that small private jet. Looks like maybe Delta back there. And there's one in front of it. This guy can't even back up. Alright, in Phoenix now.
That's your boarding number.
This is my layover. Switching planes, 104 degrees outside. Only 4 more hours. Back in Orlando, waited 45 minutes for my bag to come through. I made the cardinal mistake of checking a bag. So that was the trip. All of the straggler leftover kind of pieces. This wasn't my first time out to California. I mean, I've been out there a few times, but I had not been out to Disneyland in the last couple of years. And I had never been to Universal Studios, so you know, I know we had just one really great comment that popped in the thing the other day about this isn't the view from the cheap seats, you know, and it's kind of a lie. I thought it was the greatest comment of all time, by the way, because it was true. That trip to Universal Studios, by all means, was not the view from the cheap seats. That was the view from the very expensive seats. It was very costly to get out to Universal and do what we did. But I went out to California without Mary or Jess, simply because we're going to go out to Midsummer Scream. We have day jobs in our house, and you know, there's different abilities to be able to take off vacation time, or in America, you know, I'm not sure if the word PTO kind of works for everybody, but it's basically paid time off. Mary doesn't get a ton of that with her job. I tend to get a little bit more, but we wanted to get out to Midsummer Scream, which was the primary goal of getting out to California. And Paul and I had talked about getting out there last year. So we basically, when you think about cheap seats, we used points to pay for airfare. And he's up in Virginia, and obviously I'm here in Orlando. We met out in LAX, rented a car together, split a hotel room together, and basically kept costs down that way. And there were no like overly fancy restaurants or anything. I think even so, like when we went to Cabo Wabo Cantina, I think dinner probably was like maybe less than $15 for the meal. So it wasn't, you know, the travel part of the vacation wasn't the most costly. It was really just getting, you know, Disneyland ticket is ridiculous. Disneyland ticket, for those that are curious, was like about $170 or so, and we did it with Max Pass. The differences between Disneyland or Disney World, I mean, you could spend hours talking about the differences. There are a lot of core rides that are the same that have slight differences to them. But the one reason why we want to try to get to Disneyland, in addition to go to Midsummer, was that the Guardians of the Galaxy was implemented for Tower of Terror, and we absolutely love that ride. I had not been on that ride until that point, but Tower of Terror is one of my favorite rides at Disney, and implementing stuff with Marvel. And for those that don't know, because we get a lot of these comments in our videos about like, why are the Marvel characters at Disney out there? Obviously, Disney owns Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the reason why the Disney characters are not at, or the Marvel characters are not at Disney rather, here in Orlando, is because Universal has a contract that's in perpetuity, which means that they can use those characters until they choose not to use those characters. They can continue to lease those characters from Disney. So that's why the Marvel characters are not at Disney World. But we wanted to see the Disney versions of those characters at Disneyland, which was awesome. And the Guardians of the Galaxy ride was awesome. I had not seen the Hatbox Ghost before in Haunted Mansion, so that was awesome. They have some other classic rides out there that no longer at Disney World here. So we get to go Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. We got to get on the Indiana Jones ride also, which, it's just basically dinosaur, but with the skin of Indiana Jones. If I had to choose between the two, you always want to do the one that you don't get to do as often. And I think that's why everybody is so infatuated with Disney to begin with, because they don't tend to go as often as others. And I think when you live closer to something or do something more routinely, you become a little bit more numb to the specialness of it. And I do love going to Disney, so it was awesome to be able to spend time out at Disneyland. And the parades out there were much, much better than the stuff that we have here. At least the nighttime parade. I was in love with that parade. Universal, we decided that we were going to go to Universal Studios to spend the day. When we looked at crowd calendars online, and this is another question that we always get, do you think it's going to be busy when I visit Orlando, whatever day? There's tons of crowd calendars out there. Touring plans are awesome. You can Google crowd calendar for whatever park, and it'll pull up different sites and services that you can use. But it showed that Universal Studios Hollywood, that was one of their busiest days of the year. So we looked to try to maybe do front of the line, and we were looking at front of the line access. It was probably like 2/3 of the price of doing the VIP tour when we booked the VIP tour. And I apologize because there's not the greatest lighting in here and everything. I'm working in the guest bedroom using the new laptop, because if you guys have followed the channel for a while, I poured Pepsi by accident on the old laptop. So I figured this was the quickest way to do this, was just record a video with the internal camera. But the VIP tour at Universal Hollywood was more than worth the price. It was super expensive, and trust me, it hurts me in my pocketbook because I don't do this full time. I don't ask for Patreon money or PayPal money or Super Chat money or anything like that. So any of that money was coming out of my pocket. And we do get some money from YouTube every month, and some of that money went towards the price of that ticket. And it was a great experience, and I was happy to be able to share that with you. The backlot tour was amazing. I wish that they did stuff like that in Orlando, but we just simply don't film as much stuff here, and there's not as much cool stuff in the background to share with you guys, or to see personally. The rides that they have that are the same for the most part are slightly different. Transformers was exactly the same. But I loved Universal Studios Hollywood. I'd love to be able to get back out there for their version of Horror Nights also. And then lastly, Midsummer Scream. It was just an amazing event. We don't have anything like that in Orlando. We have Spooky Empire, which we love. We love the spooky people. But this con had the really awesome twist that it had 12 or so mini haunted houses inside the convention center. So the fog and the stuff that you love when you go to any of the haunted events, around town, everything was inside the convention center. All the fog, the lights, the actors jumping out at you. and its stuff was just amazing. I would go out to that con every year if I lived closer to it, and, you know, hoping that I'd be able to get back there next year. Some of the stuff that we saw out there at the con, you know, whether the panels for Universal or for Warner Brothers, really awesome stuff to see. But really the highlight to me was that Hall of Shadows, which was the mini haunt stuff. So in any event, those are some thoughts and some rambling. Thank you for watching the Scraps and Bits video here, and thoughts. We'll be back tomorrow with a regular video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for all of your likes and your comments and your subscriptions. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Have a great night. We'll see you guys.